الحمد لله الحمد لله خالق الوجود من العدم وجاعل النور من الظلم ومخرج الصبر من الألم فملك التوبة على الندم فنشكره على المصائب كما نشكره على النعم ونصلي على رسوله الأكرم ذي الشرف الأشم والنور الأتم والكتاب المحكم وكمال النبيين والخاتم سيد ولد آدم الذي بشر به عيسى بن مريم ودعا لبعثته إبراهيم عليه السلام حين كان يرفع قواعد بيت الله المحرم فصلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى أتباعه خير الأمم الذين بارك الله بهم كافة الناس العرب منهم والعجم فالحمد لله الذي نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه العزيز وفرقانه الحميد بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. The topic which I would like to discuss and the verse which I have recited in front of you is from Surah At-Tahrim. And this is a topic which is very sensitive, and the verse in it itself perhaps many of you have heard before, where Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about the believers protecting their family from the hellfire. And this is a topic that we always need to remind ourselves, and perhaps we have heard this verse many times, but there could not be ever enough reminders and enough khatiras and enough lectures and seminars and sermons regarding this important topic of protecting and saving our family from the hellfire. And one of the things, each and every single one of us who sit in North America and live in North America, we focus on how we can have a better life. So if you're living in an apartment, your focus is on how you can get to a house. If you're in a very small house, you're focusing on how you can buy a bigger house and live a better life. And if your children, if you have children, you have been blessed with children, they're going to school, you're concerned about them doing well in school. You know, if they did bad in one of the semesters for math or any subject, you're worried about how they can improve and do better, and how their worldly life could be better. And that's very important. I often mention to people that every single one of us sitting here have come to this country for economic growth. And we all have to accept that. That's a reality. We didn't run away from Egypt, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India to come build a masjid over here. We came for a better life, for economic growth. And alhamdulillah, we made some money and then we moved forward. We came to the realization and the understanding that we need to build a masjid, we need to build our centers, we need to build masajids. And alhamdulillah, these masajids came about when the importance came into our mind and we made some money. And that's very important. But often what happens is in our lives, in our children's lives, it's not as important if they don't know their surahs. It's not as important if they don't read their salah. But in later on, when we come to realize that my child is disrespecting me because he has no understanding of deen, that's when it becomes important. That's when deen and religion become an essential part and a part and parcel of my life. And this is why this ayah of the Quran is very important and very crucial, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about protecting yourself and protecting your family from the hellfire. Now what does Allah Azza wa Jal begin by saying? He says, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, qu anfusakum, protect yourself, wa ahlikum nara, and your close relatives, your family members from the hellfire. And a point of reflection, the first word that Allah uses, He says, anfusakum, protect yourself. If you and I, as adults, as role models, are using filthy words when speaking to our spouses, when speaking to our children. If I'm coming home from a long day of work and sitting down and watching filth on Netflix or any show, if I myself am not waking up for Salatul Fajr, if I myself, and you can see this, it happens very often, drop my child off at Sunday school or Saturday school, and then I'm coming half hour before or 10 minutes before and saying, let's go, and you yourself are not praying Salah in congregation, don't expect your child to be the saint of the time. And this happens very often, right? 5 minutes before, maybe mothers or even fathers come. And alhamdulillah, many of the masajid, we have accommodations for the sisters to even pray Salah. And for a few exceptions, of course, if you have some necessity or some responsibility. But for the most part, you're coming to the masjid, picking up your child from the masjid, but you yourself are not performing Salah in congregation. So what does this show, and what does this reflect upon your child? That you yourself are not practicing deen, so you have absolutely no right to tell me to do this and that and read Quran and do tilawah and do dhikr and all these things. Because you yourself are not practicing the religion in it itself. You are not giving any regards to yourself, so how could you command me and tell me to do certain things which you aren't doing yourself? And this is why the key is anfusakum, protect yourself. You and I need to rectify our own actions before we go on telling other people to do certain things. And let's face it, hypocrisy is something that is very apparent. It's very visible. If I myself at work, as an employer, as a businessman, use foul languages, curse and backbite and lie, then I can't tell my son, hey, don't curse at your sibling. Don't say this, because he's perhaps learning it from me. When I'm on that business call or on that conference call and I'm yelling and shouting at somebody, I can't tell my own son or my own daughter, don't yell and don't, shout at your sibling. Because he learned it from you. He's seeing it in you. And that he has justified it to himself that it's completely correct and completely fine to yell, to scream, to be rude, to show attitude to other people. And regarding this aspect of family, it's a very sensitive matter. Even on the Day of Judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَهُ بَعِيدًا وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. That these people who are very qareeb to you, you will see them very far from you. On that day, people will be worried only about themselves, even though they were the most beloved people to you on planet Earth when you were alive in this dunya. And I must also say that giving da'wah to your family, it may be your child, it may be your daughter, it may be your spouse, it's a very difficult thing. As a person who delivers lectures and seminars, there's sometimes brothers, not to brag or anything, but there's brothers that even drive down when I have programs in other places, 30-40 minutes to come for the lecture for the family event. But if I was to tell my own sister, hey, can you come? I know, I changed your diapers for you. I'm 10 years older than you. What are you going to give a lecture? I'm going to listen to you? Tell my own brother to come. Your own sibling won't come. Your own wife won't come. You could be the greatest scholar or the grand mufti of the country. Your own wife won't listen to you. So it's a very sensitive thing. But what do we learn from the Anbiya? What do we learn from the scholars? What do we learn from the lessons of the Quran, which is a principle that remains till the Day of Judgment? Did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam give up on his uncle Abu Talib? Did he give up on Abu Lahab? Even till the last moment, till their deathbed, he went to them and he gave them da'wah. Did Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam give up upon his son? Even at the last moment, before the wave came, he said, Ya bunayya arkam ma'ana wa la takum ma'al kafirin. He gave da'wah to his son even at the last moment. Yes, it's very sensitive. Yes, your own family members won't listen to you, but that does not mean that you close the doors and say, chapter is closed, I will not give da'wah anymore. I will not remind them regarding Allah. I will not invite them towards which is good. I will not rectify their actions. So the first thing that we learn from this verse, anfusakum, correct yourself, rectify your actions. Because when you and I try our best to rectify ourselves, it will have an impact on our families. And the second is family matters are very sensitive. So don't take it personal. Don't tell yourself that I will give up. One of the fundamental things of an entrepreneur, of successful businessmen, is they never give up. You hear some of their interviews. They try many things, they failed miserably and dismally in so many things. They lose millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they never give up. They put themselves back up. Any person, you read their lives, you read their biography and their history, any person that made it in life, financially or became a leader, sacrificed so much prior to their success, has failed so many times till they actually made it to the top. So never ever give up on your family. And here comes a motivational thing within the ayah, within the verse itself. Whenever you lose motivation, وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةِ, remember that your own family member, remember for the mothers, the child that you love, remember for the father that you're working tirelessly, hours after hours, to provide for your children. وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةِ, those fires will be prepared to burn your own child, your own beloved one, in the hellfire on the Day of Judgment. So this is a motivation for us to never ever, and may Allah protect all of our family members and our loved ones. But remember that if I don't protect my child, if I don't tell my child to wake up for Fajr, if I don't tell my child to perform Salah, then what will happen ultimately on the Day of Judgment? My heart will be burning from the inside, while I will see my own family member burning in the hellfire. So this is a motivation from Allah. وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةِ عَلَيْهَا مَلَائِكَةٌ غِلَاظٌ شِدَادٌ. When Allah Azza wa Jal will order these malaika and these angels to drag your family member to the hellfire, لَا يَعْصُونَ اللَّهَ مَا أَمْرَهُمْ وَيَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. These malaika will never disobey Allah. These malaika, these angels will never go against Allah. So this is a reminder that our family members need to be reminded and need to be motivated. And if you ever lose motivation, you might be the person who's responsible, you may be the person who's doing the right thing, but don't forget, even if they disobey you, even if they reject you, don't lose your motivation. Don't stop yourself. Never stop giving da'wah. Never stop making effort upon your family. Because if you don't protect them, how will they protect themselves in the hereafter? If you are not able to do it, get a third party, get another person to motivate them to do the right thing. And then Allah Azza wa Jal, the next verse says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَا تَعْتَذِرُوا الْيَوْمِ إِنَّمَا تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And this is a very, very dangerous verse. And this is connected, the scholars mention, that those who don't listen to their family members and don't do the correct thing and disregard the command of Allah and His Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, لا تعتذروا اليوم, Allah Azza wa Jal calls out to the disbelievers. The correlation is that they will be in the same state as those who have disbelieved in Allah, because they disobeyed Allah. They will be amongst the group and those people who have disregarded the message of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And remember, show rahmah to your family. Show mercy to your family, because it is your family members who are your most beloved, and you want to be with them in the hereafter as well. And this is why the next verse Allah Azza wa Jal says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا تُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ تَوْبَةً نَصُوحًا. That don't ever forget that even if this person has disregarded you, it could be your wife, it could be your child, it could be your own son, your own daughter, your own brother, it is never too late to rectify your actions. And this is why Allah Azza wa Jal says, تُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ تَوْبَةً نَصُوحًا. Maybe after you get sick, when you're on your deathbed, your daughter might make that vow and say, oh my dad, I disobeyed you, I disregarded you, I will start praying my salah. So you don't know what in your life could be the change that brings about change in other people's lives. You could be maybe on your deathbed, maybe you could go through an accident, and then your own child wakes up and says, that, you know what, my father been telling me all these things. He been just bragging and he been nagging. Maybe I should listen to him. And this is one of the principles that we learn from this verse, is that you and I should never lose hope in our family. And you never know when your father, when your brother, when your sister, when your sibling, when your family member can turn around and rectify themselves. When you look at the incident of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the first Muslim, the first person who was there for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his father Abu Quhafa radiallahu anhu accepted Islam at an old age. After him giving so much da'wah to him, after seeing Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu freeing slaves and doing so much for the khidmah and the service of Islam, nothing affected him. But guess what? At the last stage, he came back and he rectified himself and he accepted Islam and he passed away. So you never know what will be the turning point of your daughter's life or of your son's life. But one of the things that we do know is that you and I need to put effort within our children's lives. Our children are our future. Our children are a generation that will be an example. It's not only being a doctor, an engineer, an entrepreneur, someone who is financially stable, but that deen also needs to be rectified. The deen needs to be understood. You know, if you study or ask anybody, any scholar, that how is it that we represent Islam in North America, is that we need to have the knowledge regarding Islam. We need to be equipped. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in this masjid, this summer, coming July 5th, inshaAllah, we will be having a summer Quranic intensive. And Alhamdulillah, we held this program back in 2018. We had about 30 students and it was a very successful program where we taught the children, and it's not your typical summer program, but we had, Alhamdulillah, teenagers. And that's a very critical moment, because what happens is, once they go from elementary school to middle school or high school, they become baligh and they go through puberty. That's a very sensitive moment in life. Either you make it or you break it. Either you stay obedient to your parents or you just rebel. And if you go throughout the schools, and I talk to some of the youth, you see them just, going into drugs, they're, smoking weed, they're taking electric cigarettes, the e-cigarettes, and the environment is very detrimental. The environment is giving you da'wah and inviting you towards what? Disobedience of Allah, disobedience of your parents, and nothing but rebelliousness. And this is why it's absolutely important that every single masajid has programs and events for their youth. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Long Island Muslim Society is catering to the youth. And I want every single one of us, inshallah, when exiting, if we have nieces, nephews, children that we know, it will be from Monday through Wednesday, inshallah, 2 hours on a daily basis from 10:30 to 12:30. And it's very important that we send our youth. If we have grandchildren as well, if you have nieces and nephews, relatives, tell them inshallah to send their kids for this event. It's very important that our children who are above the age, and that, like I mentioned, that age from going through puberty, 13, 14, 15, those high school years phase, it's very important that our children learn regarding deen and they learn regarding their religion. How many youth are having wet dreams in the morning and not taking a shower, or not performing fard ghusl? Many of them, perhaps we haven't heard this, but so many of them are in the state of halat janaba, are in the state of impurity. They need to know regarding their deen. So Alhamdulillah, we have multiple subjects. We have Salah intensive, we have the Quran intensive, we have the Seerah intensive, and these are the subjects that we will be learning every single week, inshallah. I myself will be conducting the program, inshallah. So I humbly request, inshallah, everyone to send their children. May Allah protect our youth, may Allah protect our family from the hellfire. Wa sallallahu wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. ألا إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك، وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات، وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. قال النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم: أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر، وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر، وأصدقهم حياء عثمان، وأقضاهم علي، وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة رضي الله تعالى عنها وعنهم. اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان، اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان، اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم طهر قلوبنا من النفاق، وأعمالنا من الرياء، وألسنتنا من الكذب. اللهم تقبل صلاتنا، اللهم تقبل قيامنا، اللهم تقبل ركوعنا، اللهم تقبل سجودنا كما تقبلت من عبادك الصالحين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم، اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم. ربنا تقبل منا بقبول حسن كما تقبلت من عبادك الصالحين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. أقم الصلاة، إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا.